Well, I wouldn't have had to do that in this case. The reason that we have these strikes is because of inflation. We had last year the largest number of days lost to strike since 1986. What did we have in 1986? Inflation. Inflation leads to strikes because workers and unions have to fight to get back what they lost in purchasing power. Well, how did the inflation happen? The government doubled the debt. Justin Trudeau printed $700 billion of cash. He increased the money supply by 40%, while the real economy grew by 4%. When you add money 10 times faster than you add the stuff that money buys, then you get inflation. And that screws over workers because they live off wages. If you're a billionaire, like the people Trudeau vacations with, then you don't have to worry about inflation because your assets are inflation-proof or even inflation-positive. You get richer. It's a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. And you know what? It's ironic. It's all done with Jagmeet Singh's support. He can huff and puff all he wants, but he supported the inflationary policies that destroyed the wages of working-class people, and he supports what Justin Trudeau did on the rail strike. Do you know how we know? Do you know how we know that? Do you know how we know that? No. Do you know how we know that Jagmeet supports it? Because he's still in a coalition with him. And if Jagmeet didn't support it, he would respond to my letter this afternoon and say he's pulling out of the costly coalition and he's going to vote to bring down Trudeau and cause a carbon tax election. And that's what I'm calling for him to do today. Jagmeet Singh, stop selling out the workers. Stop being sellout Singh. Put the people ahead of your pension. Vote for a carbon tax election now. First of all, we have to acknowledge that Justin Trudeau has destroyed our immigration system. We had a multi-generational consensus in immigration for literally decades before Trudeau came along. Immigration was not even a controversial issue prior to Trudeau. We brought in hardworking, law-abiding citizens in numbers that our housing market, our job market, and our healthcare system could absorb. What has since happened? Trudeau and Fraser destroyed the temporary foreign worker program by telling their bureaucrats to overlook fraud, by getting rid of the rule that required that you couldn't bring in temporary foreign workers for low-wage jobs in places where there was over 6% unemployment. In other words, where there were lots of people looking for work. They destroyed the international student program by allowing rampant fraud and abuse and increasing the numbers to levels we could not afford. And they grew the population almost 3 times as fast as the housing stock. That is entirely a decision of Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberals. When I'm Prime Minister, the temporary foreign worker program will be used exclusively to fill jobs that Canadians cannot or do not fill, like in agriculture sectors, but never to replace Canadians or drive down wages. We will only admit international students to, if they have a way to pay their bills, a house to live in, and a real admission letter to a real educational institution. And population growth will be below the growth in jobs, housing, and healthcare. That is a common sense plan. Now let's bring it home.
Do you want to see a reduction in the number of permanent residents that are admitted to Canada in the next 2 years? It's at 500,000 right now.
We have to have fewer, we have to have a smaller population growth. There's no question about it. We cannot grow the population at 3 times the rate of the housing stock, as Trudeau has been doing. We need to have a growth rate that is below the growth in housing, healthcare, and employment. If you want if you want an idea of how I would run the immigration system overall, it's the way it was run for the 30 years prior to Trudeau being Prime Minister. We had a common sense consensus between Liberals and Conservatives for 3 decades that screened people to make sure they were safe, only brought in the numbers that we could absorb into our housing, healthcare, and job market, and blocked temporary foreign workers where they were taking jobs from Canadians. That was a common sense consensus that existed before Justin Trudeau, and the radical and out of control NDP Liberal government destroyed our system.